Thank you for tuning in to All Things Real Estate. Once again, here are your hosts, Brad Avergon and Gary Kelly.
Welcome to All Things Real Estate. I'm Gary Kelly with Castanetti Realty Group, and I'm joined today by the always debonair
Brad Avergon with Fairway Independent Mortgage. How are you, Gary?
Brad. It's like we practiced that. We don't know how many years we've been doing this, but it's been years.
It has. It has been years.
You go back and you look at some of the old videos, and they've improved. Some of that's cameras, some of that's our style, but a lot of it has to do with what Keith does in the background. Keith is the video producer that we have doing this. So thank you, Keith, for trying to make at least me look good. Brad is always debonair.
Thank you, Keith.
So one of the things I'm asked all the time is, how's the market? And the truth is, for years I've said it's unbelievable, because that works in an up market, that works in a down market, that works whatever. And right now, honestly, I'm saying it's really slow. Really slow.
Yeah.
And, I was fascinated. I was watching an Anthony LaMacchia Instagram post. As many of you know, Anthony is the CEO and broker of the LaMacchia Companies, really bright guy, one of the brightest minds in real estate, in my opinion, that's around. Not everyone cares for him. Not everyone cares for his style, but I think his points are what you have to pay attention to. He did a recent Instagram video, which I thought was fascinating. He talked about his grandfather, and the grandfather said basically, good times don't last forever, and nor do bad times. So, that's simple grandfatherly advice. I get that. He went on to say he thinks that the current real estate market is in a serious recession where there's a drought in sales. I can certainly relate to the drought in sales. He said, look at the statistics. It's impossible for it to stay this slow forever. It's impossible for it to get any slower. It can only go up from here. So I think that those words resonate for me, and certainly our sellers and buyers. Brad, what are you seeing?
I'm seeing the same thing, Gary, and it's interesting to hear Anthony say that, because he's typically a kind of a rah-rah kind of guy, kind of a cheerleader.
Yeah.
High energy, and just go out there, and there's deals and everything's happening. And I do believe there are some deals happening, but certainly a lot less. And I think he nailed it in that it's there's just not enough transactions. It's interesting that he did not say anything about interest rates specifically. He just said there's not enough transactions. And I think that has to do with the inventory. And that seems to be, at least in our geography, one of the biggest challenges that we see. In my business, I've got buyers that are pre-approved that are looking for homes, despite interest rates being on the higher than they certainly were a couple of years ago, and that's not stopping them. What's stopping them is not enough homes on the market. And so when they make an offer on a home, if they find one that they like and they make an offer on a home, they're seeing multiple bids on that and getting bid out a little bit. And I know that's frustrating. So I think if inventory were to increase a little bit, I think that would help a lot. Would you agree?
I would absolutely agree. And I think of the business that Sue and I have. A lot of them a lot of the houses we're selling right now are houses that someone has passed away and the heirs are now selling the house. And so we deal with probate issues. The good news with that is we can kind of go through the place and clean it and all that, because we don't have to worry that someone's going to come back and say, you move that vase, because the family has generally cleared the place out already. So that is a little bit easier. It's also interesting to watch families when you get offers presented and the family has the family meeting. I remember having family meetings. I saw Joe Biden on Howard Stern recently, and he said, yeah, we had a family meeting. We all went on the porch. Okay. Family meetings in my house were all at the kitchen table. And you'd sit down and you'd talk through whatever the issue was and come to a conclusion. It was kind of nice. We probably need to do more of that as a society. But I still think that if you're trying to sell a property right now, right this minute, if, as I've been saying, if you know where you're going, if you have a house on the Cape, if you have a place in South Carolina, and by the way, I've got clients right now that are moving to South Carolina and they're going down, they're buying houses. So they don't have the same kind of inventory constraints there. The interest is the same, but the inventory is not. And so if you have a place to go or you know where you're going to go, then it's hop on the train and let's get going. If you don't, it's a slower process because you've got to figure out where you're going to go because you don't want to end up not to hit it too hard, but you don't want to end up homeless.
Right, exactly. And I think that's really an important um, it's an important conversation to have, but I think it's a big challenge in the market right now because I think a lot of people, even in Massachusetts, that would be willing to either trade up or trade down, meaning either go to a bigger home or downsize. The challenge that they're finding is if number one, if they can find a home that they want to buy, either smaller or bigger, what's the likelihood they're going to get that? And meanwhile, they're still in their existing home. So there's this kind of chicken and egg thing, which is going to come first. And I think that's a real challenge. Now, as you said, if they can move out of state where they're not confined to the same inventory issues that we have, there are other parts of the country that they've got bigger areas of raw land where builders can come in and put down 100 or even 1,000 homes, and people can prepare to purchase those homes. So let's say the home is being built in South Carolina or in Arizona, wherever they happen to want to go. They may have 6 months to a year to be able to sell their existing homes before
Right.
their new home's going to be ready. And so that's really, really good preparation, and something that if any of our listeners or viewers are thinking about, that's something to think about. But if you're trying to buy in Massachusetts, it's a little trickier because you don't have that lead time, to be able to prepare your home to sell, to get it sold, and try to dovetail it or coordinate it so that you can move to your new home. So that's a little bit tricky here.
The other thing that I'm observing, and I'm back on people are dying and their homes are getting sold. If that home is in a neighborhood, it's not uncommon that all of those homes got purchased by people kind of at the same time.
Right.
And so as one comes on the market, often others come on the market, and it's the same reason. But it's also an opportunity for a buyer to get in and say, listen, here's an area. It was a nice area 20, 30 years ago. Maybe it needs a little updating. Maybe we need to take the wallpaper down or replace the carpets, that kind of stuff. What I call cosmetic things. But they're often really nicely laid out, thought out neighborhoods. And that can also be very, very fun.
I think so, and I think that's really, you brought up a really key point. I've been fortunate. I moved into two new construction neighborhoods, and when everybody moved in, everybody was in the same place. They were just
Right.
having kids, so you could take your kid out there on the cul-de-sac on their tricycle, and all the kids would be running around, and so there was a camaraderie that was formed, and that was really that made it nice. That made it nice to be able to get in it. Now those same neighborhoods, that were done in the either the 80s or the 90s at some point, and I think what I'm thinking of, we bought in 97, I think, or 96. Those styles are a little outdated now. So if that home hasn't changed over, the kitchen, they may not be quite as appealing or cutting edge as HGTV might put it, but they say the three rules of real estate are location, location, location. You get into that nice neighborhood where there is a cul-de-sac and where those homes, as you indicated, are starting to turn over. So it's not just that one house, but that neighbor next door may be selling soon, and then the one next to them may be selling soon. So new families are going to come in. That's a great opportunity for folks trying to get into a neighborhood.
The other thing I'd look at in those kinds of neighborhoods is if you see one roof being replaced, you're probably going to see a second roof and then a third roof because everything's aging at the same pace. So So that's something, as we work with a buyer, that's something that you say, listen, the house didn't get a new roof yet. It's going to need a new roof. You can see it looking up and down the neighborhood. So, Brad, if someone were to want to reach you to have further conversation, how would they do that?
Best way to reach me, Gary, is via my cell phone, which is 978-375-5531, or they can reach me via email at brad@bradavergon.com. And Gary, how do they reach you?
Well, Brad, thank you. I'm at 508-733-6005, and I can be reached at Gary@movewithgary.com. We put this on WCRN, it's a radio station, and we also put it on a variety of podcast vehicles. So hopefully you're seeing this sometime of the day or night. And if you need help from Brad or I, don't hesitate to reach out. Brad, let's take a pause here, pay some bills, which basically at this point boils down to paying the radio station. And then we will resume in the second half.
Sounds good, Gary. See you on the flip side.
Once again, thank you for watching All Things Real Estate. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Brad or Gary.